I've put a disclaimer in the chat as well. But yeah, this training session will be recorded and made available to staff and students, and your comments and questions, both verbal and text-based, and your likenesses, if using a webcam, may be included in the recording. So good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for coming along to this daily digital micro webinar. So these daily digital micro webinars are a series of short webinars that basically share some useful digital skills, hints and tips here at Cardiff Met. So the format of the session is just going to be a quick 10 to 15 minute demonstration, followed by time at the end for any questions you might have about OneDrive. So today's session, we are going to be looking at how you can use OneDrive as a bit of an organizational hub for your files and your folders. We'll have a look a little bit about what you can do with some of the documents that you've got then within OneDrive. And we'll also have a look at how you can use OneDrive on your mobiles or your tablets and have a look at some of the features of that application as well. Okay, so first of all, let's have a quick recap of what OneDrive actually is. So OneDrive, it's part of SharePoint. SharePoint is a cloud service, sorry, a cloud storage service that's used to store, share and manage the shared documents that we use in Cardiff Met. And that's mainly used through Teams and team sites. OneDrive is also a cloud storage service, but this one is more geared toward using storing your personal documents. And when I say your personal documents, I don't mean like your personal documents. I mean like private documents that you might want to keep to yourself within Cardiff Met. So, for example, if you've downloaded holiday requests as PDF, or things specific to your job role that are only relevant to you, things like that. If you're a lecturer and you're working on lesson plans and that sort of thing before they go live, this would be a good area where you can store your documents. Staff and students both have OneDrive allocations. I'm obviously a staff member here. I'm one of the digital skills developers, but I'm also a student here as well. I'm currently studying my PGCE. So I've got a staff OneDrive and a student OneDrive. So I can log in to both accounts through the OneDrive application. And what I can do as well is I can actually share documents between those accounts. So I can give access to my student stuff to my staff stuff and vice versa. So it's a really handy little organizational tool. So let's have a look at how you can actually access OneDrive. You can access OneDrive through a web browser. So let me get Microsoft Edge here. So to access these OneDrive areas, it's really simple. You just go to portal.office.com. and you log in with your Cardiff Met credentials. And then once you've done that, you'll be into your main office area. Here is where you can, of course, install Office documentation if you need to, Office applications, I should say. And up in the top left-hand corner, you've got this little launcher here, this little 9 dots. And when you click on that, that expands all the applications you can use. And we've got OneDrive in here. And if I click on that, that takes us to the OneDrive area. So on the left-hand side, I've got all my files, my recent files, and any shared files, that sort of thing. You also got a quick access area, which will let you access any team sites that you're part of. So I'm part of the digital skills teams and a couple of other teams here. So I could quickly skip to these areas and download files from here if I wanted to. So these are the different MOS channels, for example, that we offer training in. So these are training specific files there. So you can access your OneDrive and also your team sites through here as well. But looking at my own personal files here, within this area, here are all the different folders I've got set up and a couple of files that haven't been placed into folders yet. And organizing your files in OneDrive, it's really simple. So you can easily make new folders. So you've got the new button up here. I can click on that, click on new folder, decide whatever I want to call it. In this case, I'll just call it example folder 1. Click on create, and you'll see here, it's got that little area there. It shows you it's just newly created. That's my new folder. And within that folder, then, if you wanted to move documents into it, it's a simple matter of, like, for example, I could take the this e-lesson here, for example. I could use the ellipses here. I could click on that, get my move option, and I can then move that folder. Sorry, I can move that file into whatever folder I want. So I've just got that newly created folder, move it there. E-lesson is now gone from my main folder. But if I look in my example folder now, you can see it's based in there. So you can move documents really simply between folders that way. You can even copy and paste documents as well. So if you want to have copies of documents from one folder to another, you can do that. And you can even drag and drop. So for example, if I wanted to take this book document here, I could click and drag, move that up my folder list, and then drop that into my example folder, and that will move that there as well. So there's a couple of different ways of achieving the same effect. So you could right click, you can use the ellipses, or you can drag and drop. There's lots of different ways to move items across. If you want to add items that exist outside of OneDrive, you can do that as well. So in my example folder, for example, here, I could use the upload button across this top menu bar, and I can upload files or folders that are external from there. So if I've got something saved on my computer, I can upload that from here also. Another handy little thing that you can do with your folders is within OneDrive is you can sync them. So you can press that sync button up in the top menu bar here whenever you're in a folder, and that will then link and it'll synchronize this OneDrive folder to like a Windows environment instead. So as an example, I've got a Windows Explorer window open here. Let me just bring that up to this main screen. So I've got this regular file explorer within Windows, and you can see because I've synced this folder, I've got a OneDrive tab here, and here you can see all my OneDrive stuff is synced up to Windows Explorer. So it looks like it's stored on the computer, and I can treat it like it's stored on the computer. There's my example folder there. I've just made that, but you can see I can access this the same as if it was actually like stored locally as well. So using the sync client is a really nice way of using OneDrive on your machine. Before I move on to the mobile aspect of it, though, I want to show you a little bit as well about how you can share documents, because that's something worth bearing in mind. Is if you wanted to share a document, you can right-click it, or you can use the ellipses. And then when you share a document, you can click the share button here. And then you've got a couple of options within that. So you can either share it with anybody with the link, which is obviously not the best idea from a security point of view. So if you are going to share any documentation within Cardiff Met, you're better off using the other options here. So you can either share it with specific people, so you can specify exactly who gets that document, or if it's a document that already has different permissions, you can specify that only people with the existing access can use it, or you can set it so that only people within Cardiff Met generally can access it. But again, that's still quite a security liability if it could go to staff and students across the entire institution. So again, you're better off using the specific access. You can also limit the editing, so you can say if people want to edit it or not. And you can also block the download as well. So if you can block a download so nobody can actually download that document. You can also as well, if you're using the anyone with a link option, you can specify a password for the document, and you can even specify a date for when you want that document to actually expire. So you do have a lot of security options you can include if you are trying to share these documents. So that's definitely worth being wary of, especially in nowadays with the GDPR, with the data protection. It's worth keeping that in mind. So one thing I wanted to show you was the mobile side of things. You can download the mobile application for OneDrive via the Android stores or the Apple stores, so depending on what device you've got. But if you do a search for Microsoft OneDrive, you can download these applications from those particular stores. They work very similarly to the web browser that you've seen just now. And it does give you a couple of other options as well. So in addition to being mobile and being able to use it outside or on the bus or wherever you're going to be, it does give you a couple of other nice features. One feature you can do with the mobile version is scanning. So you can scan documents. It's not quite as good as an actual like flatbed scanner, but if you do have any paper-based documents, for example, I don't know, doctor's sick notes or meeting notes you've taken somewhere in handwritten, if you wanted to scan them, you can use the small camera icon in the bottom right of your application. It looks a bit like that. That'll open up your camera, and then it'll use artificial intelligence to kind of to try and map out the borders of whatever document you're trying to scan. And you can even specify as well, if you want to scan like a whiteboard or a business card, it'll change your camera settings to best suit that type of document. Once you've decided what document you want to scan, you can scan it. You can then reset the borders if you want to, or if it's at a skewed angle, you can change the borders a little bit. And then once you've confirmed that, OneDrive will straighten that document out, display it on your screen, and let you make a couple of other changes. So you could, if you wanted to, add a filter onto that to make it just a plain black and white document to make it a bit more readable. You've got another couple of options like cropping it or rotating it. And you can even add notations. You can draw on it to digitally sign things, or you can add your own text to it as well. And if you're scanning a multiple page document, you can also use the add button here, and you can add multiple pages to that one file. You can add up to 30 pages, I believe. So you've got a decent amount of space there. And once you've got everything ready like that and you're happy with how the document looks, you can then save it. It'll be saved to your OneDrive or wherever you specify, and that'll save it automatically as a PDF document. So again, a really good way of sharing files and making your own PDFs as well in quite a quick manner. So that's all accessible via the mobile applications. So very, very useful there. And before I finish up, I wanted to mention one other thing which might be of use looking to the future, and that's the mover function within OneDrive. So when you graduate, or if you were to leave Cardiff Met and move on to another institution or to another job somewhere, if you've got any files in your Cardiff Met OneDrive account, they obviously wouldn't be accessible after graduation because your IT privileges would eventually expire. But what you can do is you can get a free Microsoft Office OneDrive account that gives you 5 GB of storage. It doesn't give you access to the programs, but it just gives you some storage. And you can use the mover function then to transfer files from your institution account across to a personal account, which you can then, of course, access whenever. So there's the mover functionality as well. So that might come in useful for people, down the line, but worth bearing in mind. So that's a little bit of a run through of some of the items you can do within OneDrive, how you can organize things, how you can scan items, and how you can kind of future plan a little bit as well. So I'll go ahead now and stop the recording and open up the forum for any questions if you have any.